Welcome in to Rock Hard Ball, part of the Dogs Media Network at College Football Dogs. Let's get rock hard. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another edition of Rock Hard Ball. I'm Carter. That's Weezy over there. We got Colin in here as well in the producer chair. Finally back in the studio, so that's good. Nice to be back in here and, in a professional environment with our professional equipment, stuff like that. So always a good thing. Things were kind of moved around a little bit, and we are kind of winging it with some of the setup right now, but it works. It's still a better setup than what we had when we were, over Zoom. So we'll take it over that. But thanks you all for joining in. Got the Big Ten predictions on the line for today. Not necessarily, a full team by team breakdown. We've already done that so far, but it's going to be, one where we kind of give an outlook on the season. We'll talk who we think is going to win the Big Ten, what we think the title game will look like, who's the coach of the year going to be in the Big Ten, who's going to be a team that surprise you, disappoint you, and then a team that will be, unfortunately, the worst team in the conference. So we're going to hit all those. Weezy and I will give you our picks for each of those, respective spots. Then we'll get into some NFL news. Got some injury stuff, some trade stuff going on. One team in particular beefing up one side of the ball. Another team is all over the place. So we'll talk about those couple of things. And then, of course, we will also finish things up with Rock Hard Takes and Kelly's Kinky Ranking. I guess I could have thrown this up here. Big Ten predictions. Falcons was the team I was referring to there, beefing up the defense. Vikings currently going through hell. If you're a Vikings fan, I'm sorry. Things are looking tough right now. And then, Rock Hard Takes, Kelly's Kinky Rankings to finish it out today. That being said, though, we're going to do Big Ten predictions first. Once again, kind of another reminder for anybody who's kind of in here for the first time. We go to school in Nebraska, so I'm a pretty big Nebraska fan. Weezy, roots for Nebraska too. He goes to school here, but he's a diehard Michigan fan through and through as well. So we like to focus on the Big Ten, talk Big Ten stuff. So that's where we're going to start. I think we're going to do this, though, for every team here as we lead into the season. We just got a few more episodes left before we're to college football and the NFL being officially back. So we're getting through the tough times, the dark times here, still bringing you the content. But so we're going to start with the Big Ten, and we'll get through this with all the power conferences as we go forward. So here we go. These are our full predictions, so you can see them all right away, but we'll take them, piece by piece and kind of discuss each of them as we go through them. First two categories kind of go hand in hand, so we'll kind of discuss both of those at once. We got our champion of the Big Ten, and then who we think is going to be in the title game for each of us. I'm going with Ohio State to win it all. Not win it all, but win the Big Ten, defeating Oregon in the championship game. Weezy's got Oregon also in the title game, but this time they're going to be playing Michigan in Weezy's world, and he's got Oregon winning the Big Ten championship. Weez, I'll hand it off to you here first. What's the thought process behind your champion and your title game? Maybe a little bit of a shock to some people not seeing Ohio State, at least in the title game for you.
I guess. I mean, they still haven't beat Michigan, so until they do, I'm going to take Michigan, who we've already talked about plenty before, that I think that they're still somehow slept on. And then in terms of Oregon, I just think there's way too much offensive talent. Like, I don't even care what the defensive side of that team looks like. I don't know who's going to be able to stop them.
Yeah. Oregon, I mean, we talked about it before. I think a big part of them, too, is Dylan Gabriel is probably going to be the best player in the conference. He's going to be a Heisman contender. That's a big deal. It's a tough conference. It's going to be championship-level football all year. We've talked about it before, too. Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, they all play each other. So a lot of big games there on the docket for all of them.
So I have Michigan, but, obviously that could be Ohio State. It could be Michigan, Ohio State, just back-to-back weeks. I don't know. We don't know. Obviously we know who the good teams are, but they're going to have to play the games because they all play each other. So I don't know who's going to come out of that. Yeah,
I think it's almost definitely going to be two of those three teams. The one other dark horse that we have in there with the, possible championship contenders, and you've actually got them down here later in the list in a bad spot. But Penn State maybe could be a conversation piece there just because their schedule is very light, and obviously it's based off of conference records. So if they can take care of the games that they should take care of, and those other three beat up on each other, there's maybe a chance that Penn State could find themselves sneaking into that championship game if they're as good or better than people think they're going to be this year. So, I think they had a real chance. As for me, my thought process on Ohio State, I think that they just have one of, if not the best rosters in all of the country. I picked them as my number one team in the nation coming into the year way back when we first started the show. We did a full preview or whatever, looking at the top teams coming into the year. So, I think Ohio State's super talented. They just officially named Will Howard as a starting quarterback. He was very efficient at Kansas State. I think he's going to continue to, look good, put up numbers at Ohio State. He's playing with better playmakers, better line, got a better defense with him. So I think all those things combined help him out. You make a good point. They haven't beat Michigan recently. Jim Harbaugh is not there anymore, though, as Cass, said there in the comments. Michigan should still be in there, but yeah, I think Ohio State, this is the best shot that they've had in years to actually beat Michigan. And I think you can admit that. I mean, yeah, Michigan slept on, but this is definitely
it's the best year. But
yeah.
Going back to the Jim Harbaugh comment, like Sean Moore is 1-0 against Ryan Day. Like, I just think that roster is too good. Like, yeah, obviously the coaching will be a huge question mark. They lost a lot of talent, obviously players on the field, but also they lost a shit ton of coaching staff. I could be completely different week 2 if they, maybe get their asses kicked at home against Texas. Different story. Going into it though, I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Ooh, I think Michigan's going to win 7 games." I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody's really saying quite that far.
Vegas
but
has them at 8. Like,
yeah,
their win total is 8.
That's a little far, for sure. But yeah, Ryan Day also for Ohio State, he's definitely their biggest question mark. The talent's there, the roster's there. I think the quarterback's there. Their biggest question mark, which is not a good question mark to have as head coach. He hasn't been able to prove that he can beat Michigan yet. He hasn't, made any runs in the playoff yet. So that's a question mark for Ohio State. I think that's going to come down to whether or not they are, a title contender or just another year of, looking really good, looking like a really good team all year, but can't win the big one.
If they lose to Michigan again, he's gone. I don't know if you agree with me.
I think the only way that he can still salvage it if he gets to, I would say that at least a championship game in the playoffs.
I
don't think he has to necessarily win a title.
Okay.
But if he knocks off one of those top teams and gets into the championship game, I think that's
assuming they lose to Michigan, I don't think they would not be a top 4 seed. I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah.
Unless they win the Big Ten championship. So if they win a playoff game or maybe even 2, then yeah, he probably stays.
Mm-hmm.
But right now it's okay, in previous years it was a fluke. On paper, Ohio State's roster it's better than Michigan's,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
They have a new head coach and you're at home this year. If you lose that game, I think they fire him.
Yeah, it's wild to think too, because he's lost the only games he's lost in his college football coaching career is Michigan in the regular season and just playoff games, and that's literally it. But
regular season or in Big Ten, he's 60-4.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that you can have that good of a resume and still be talked about as being fired. But I think it is fair because you can't just repeatedly lose to your rival. I mean, Jim Harbaugh was getting called out to be possibly fired at one point because he was constantly going 10-2, but one of those losses every year came to Ohio State.
Yeah, and then he probably should have gotten fired during COVID.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a very valid conversation that we can have about Ryan Day being on the hot seat. But we'll see. Again, obviously, I've got the faith that Ohio State's roster and quarterback is good enough this year that they can get it done. They can win the Big Ten, and then maybe even make a run at the title. But we'll have to wait and see. So Ryan Day definitely has a big season in front of him this year. Let's move forward here. Coach of the year. We talk a lot about Ryan Day here. Let's talk about a guy that most people are high on, and we are as well. We both pick Dan Lanning as Coach of the year. What's your reasoning as why you go with Dan Lanning here?
I love him. I loved him last year. I love him going into this year. I mean, I'll let you take over what you think, but
yeah, I think it's really impressive just how he built that program.
He's so quick too,
especially looking at now. I mean, it's hindsight 2020, but it's obviously they could have known for sure. I'm sure there was rumblings forever, but they couldn't have known for sure that they were going to eventually be in the Big Ten. But Dan Lanning has built this team they were made to come to the Big Ten. They are not built like a Pac-12 team traditionally was, and it's not like Oregon's always been like that either. I mean, you think back to the Chip Kelly days, Marcus Mariota, they were just like every other Pac-12 team. They'd run and throw the ball, score a million points, but couldn't play an ounce of defense and would get beat up on by more physical teams. Oregon is the only team I think that comes over from the Pac-12 that is built to play in the Big Ten.
I would say they're almost built identical to Ohio State system, in which obviously outside of these last 3 years, even including these last 3 years, it's Ohio State has a recipe for success in the Big Ten. They've ran it for the past 25 years.
Yeah. And not only, did he build a good program there, but I think he's just really well spoken. I know when we had Michael Brown on from Big Ten Media Days, he said that, Dan Lanning was by far the most well-spoken guy that he saw there. I think that's important. It's not a huge thing for a coach, but it's definitely when you get down to the, nitty-gritty stuff and you're trying to decipher elite from very good. I think that's big. Just being able to, handle yourself with the media. And obviously it's I think that alone can also just show that you know what you're doing as a coach. I mean, it's we shit on
did you know UCLA is in Los Angeles?
Yeah, did you know UCLA is in Los Angeles? That and we're going to get to that later is why I think that's just not going to work out. So I think Dan Lanning is also going to have a very good year with Oregon, which obviously Coach of the Year, you have to have a really good year. We both have him in the title game, so I think that's a good pick. I think most people probably agree that he has a very good shot to win it. Ryan Day has been lackluster. Sharon Moore is unproven. James Franklin is known as by most people as a Hall of Fame choker. So I think everything kind of adds up to Dan Lanning winning it. unless Matt Rule, you never know. All right, let's get to disappointing teams. We already kind of mentioned Weezy's a little bit earlier. He got Penn State as his most disappointing team. I have USC. So obviously different opinions here. We'll both talk about it, but since we kind of already mentioned Penn State, I'll let you take the lead here. Why do you think that they're going to disappoint you and maybe the nation this year compared to what expectations?
Again, we talked about their schedule. I don't think disappointment is like they're going to only win 9 games. Like I don't even know if that's possible. But like, again, you have the best opportunity you've had probably since 2016, right? You have Ohio State at home. I don't think they've made that the whiteout because like that's such a bullshit. Do you know if it's a whiteout or not?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they always do it for some stupid game these days, but like,
well, most times because Big Noon Kickoff ruins it. But
I'm saying disappointing because I don't think they win that game. I do not trust Drew Aller. I'm pretty sure you're on record saying you don't trust him either.
No, yeah.
Like if you get smoked by Ohio State at home, like the committee will not give a shit if you're 10-2. You're not getting in.
Yeah. No, you make a really good point there. And that's what's good. Well, it is going to be interesting though now in the 12-team playoff, because if we get down to it, it's like if they are 10-2 and they did get smoked by Ohio State at home, but whatever, they went 10-2, and in the Big Ten, which is seen as the best or second best conference, and SEC and Big Ten are so far ahead of Big 12 and ACC at this point. It's like, are we really going to go take whatever an 11-1 team as like a third team from the ACC or a third team from the Big 12 that went 11-1 over a 10-2 Penn State that got beat by maybe Ohio State, who was undefeated and the best team in the country? Yeah, that'll be an interesting discourse that's going to happen.
100%. Yeah, like we have no idea what the committee is going to like lean on for. It's like, what are we truly critiquing going into this selection?
Yeah, and I feel like this year, obviously in the past, it's been more about like what actual teams are getting in, and obviously we've had the two-bid conversation, but this year with, again, how powerful the SEC and the Big Ten have become, I'm interested to see just kind of what kind of, again, just discussion we're going to get about, how many bids will they really give to each of those conferences? Because there's a very realistic chance that obviously we get the one automatic group of 5 bid, we get the automatic bid from the Big 12 and the ACC. So obviously, yeah, that's 3 automatic. Then outside of that, it's like, how many other teams from those other conferences are we going to actually see make it? Like, there's a chance that we could see maybe like 7 or 8 teams combined from the SEC and the Big Ten.
See, that like kind of sparks like a weird conversation in terms of like, it's all hypothetical, obviously. So, these first few years of this 12-team playoff, like it's pretty clear that they'd rather take the 10-2 Big Ten team than the 11-1 ACC team that didn't win. Okay, well, so now these ACC teams are like, I want to get in the Big Ten. I want to get there. And then it's like, okay, so we're just going to head quicker to the 2, because we're heading towards the 2 super conferences. We all know it. Well, they'll probably just each send like 5 or 6 representatives from each side and play that a playoff. Like, if they clearly favor the Big Ten and the SEC, they're just going to jump to that quicker than we think.
Yeah. Joel, this comment doesn't really make any sense in the context for what we're actually talking with the Big Ten predictions, because Notre Dame is not in the Big Ten. However, based on the college football playoff discussion we're having a little bit right now, Notre Dame could be another team that takes away another spot, and then we could have never know. Maybe we see whatever 4 teams from the SEC, 3 teams from the Big Ten, Notre Dame, and then it's just like those automatic fill-in spots. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how much they really commit to it. But all right, let's get to my disappointing team, USC. We've already talked about them quite a bit on the show, but I mean, you'll probably agree with me, I think, here as well, that I just don't really trust them. Like, they're just not built for the Big Ten. Like I kind of mentioned, saying that Oregon is the only team. I think everybody's just a little bit too high on them. I don't know. There's just not a whole lot about them that I trust. They went 7-5 with Caleb Williams in the Pac-12. Now they moved to the Big Ten. Obviously, Miller Moss is supposedly going to be a very good quarterback, which I wouldn't be shocked if he is at all.
But like you said, they went 7-5 with Caleb Williams.
They went 7-5.
How much does him being great truly matter?
Exactly. And they're in a tougher conference now. I know their schedule's not super tough. And I think they will be like I think there'll still be like a fringe top 25 team. It's like very similar to like what your thoughts are on Penn State. It's just like, I don't think they're going to be bad, but I just think they're going to be a lot more disappointing, like comparatively to like what people are kind of hyping them up to be. Like, some people think that they're a borderline playoff team. I don't think they're anywhere close to that.
I think that's ridiculous.
Yes. I think there's a chance that Nebraska, who we're going to get into in just a second here, might even, go in there and beat them. And it's like, yeah, I think Nebraska is going to be better than people think, but it's like, if they lose Nebraska at home, like, that's
looking at USC schedule, it feels like they play like every, tight, like, good game at home. Like, they might drop a lot of games at home, which, like, also was going to really hurt the resume for them.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, there's no shot. I'd put like $500 to $1,000 that they do not make the playoff.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's get to surprising teams. We got Nebraska for me, Rutgers for Weezy. I mean, kind of depends on how you look at this with Nebraska. And yeah, whatever, it might be a homer pick, but and maybe I'm drinking too much of the Kool-Aid. So it depends on who you ask on what's surprising, because I think at this point they are starting to get like a good amount of respect from like the national media.
That's the only reason why I didn't put them down.
Yeah, they are getting a good respect from the national media, but at the same time, their win-loss line is still set at 7.5, and I think that they are almost, they're virtually guaranteed, I think, to go over there, which already puts you in a spot where you can consider yourself to be overachieving if you just beat your line. Furthermore, though, I mean, I just kind of talked about it like USC, like they're not going to be as good as I think they are. I'm probably talking myself into it too much, and this is probably where I'm letting the fan come out too much. But the more I look at the Nebraska schedule, I just would not be shocked at all if we end up seeing a 9-win season out of them. And I think that there's I don't think it's crazy to say that they could win 10 games. And if they do, then obviously that's a very big deal, I think. If they lose to only Ohio State, even if they get, whatever shit pumped by them, they lose to Ohio State and they lose to whatever Iowa on the road, or like Wisconsin always plays them tough, comes into Memorial and beats them. I think that's a really, really good season. But I think it's also a very doable season. So that's why I have him here as most surprising.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I just think, like you said, I almost project it would almost be like a loss if they don't win 8 games. So that's why I didn't put them up there.
Yeah.
I think also a lot of people would agree with us. I mean, Rutgers won 7-6 last year, and I truly think they have the easiest schedule of the Big Ten. I would not be, actually, that's a little crazy. They could maybe win 10 games, Rutgers. And nobody talks about Rutgers football for obvious reasons. It's Rutgers football. Nobody gives a shit. But I think they have a chance they will surprise me.
Yeah. No, I think they're going to be a lot better than people think too. It's like nobody's talking about them. And that's one, too, where it's like on Nebraska's schedule, even though, again, I think Nebraska's going to be very good. I think they have a chance to win all 7 of those first games. Rutgers is probably the game that scares the most in that early stretch. I mean, Colorado maybe could be interesting. I really do think Nebraska can beat them. But like Rutgers, they play them at home. And that's just a week or two before the Ohio State game. That could be a tough spot.
A little trap
play them.
spot, yeah.
So, yeah, that doesn't make me super confident playing them in that spot. All right, let's get into the worst teams here. I mean, obviously, we both went with teams who I think are seen by most people as, I don't know, universally going to be bad in the Big Ten. I also consider Purdue. I think that's probably the more popular pick for the worst team. I just trust them. Again, I'm going to go back to it. Maybe it's like a homer conference pick, I guess. But I'll keep going back to the fact that I think the Pac-12 teams are going to struggle this year. I don't think they're going to be super impressive other than Oregon. Actually, I think Washington, if anything, is going to be better than people think. So UCLA, I think they just come in with bad head coach. Doesn't seem like he's prepared. Not a lot of real special talent on the roster. I don't really have their schedule in front of me. I didn't really go do a deep dive on that. But I just don't think they're going to be a very good football team. So I think that they have a really good chance to be the worst team in the Big Ten when things get physical, playing in colder weather. I think they're going to have a really tough time winning games.
Yeah, I mean, you already hint on it. Like Purdue, it's like there's really nothing going for them. I really don't trust Ryan Walters. I don't think he's a very good football coach. And then, I mean, their schedule's tough, but against Purdue, I don't think an easy schedule helps them anyways. But obviously, week 2 playing Notre Dame, it's, not a fun thing to do if you're a bad team. I don't know how many games they win. What do you think UCLA finishes with?
Probably again, I haven't looked at the schedule, but I would guess probably 3 wins.
Yeah, so I have Purdue at maybe 2. That's a maybe. I think it could be a really awful season for them.
I mean, we didn't really stipulate this when we started the discussion, but I think there also is a difference between having the worst record and being the actual worst team in the conference. Again, I haven't looked at these 2 teams' schedules, but there's still a real chance that no matter who you look at, that one team could just be worse, but they just got easier schedule. They had more games. Like UCLA, whatever, maybe they have Indiana and maybe Purdue or something at home, and Purdue just doesn't have those games. So I don't know. Well, I think they're both going to be very bad, though.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. All right, that'll do it for the Big Ten predictions. Again, we're going to probably do that for every single team in the Power 4 conferences, or every conference of the Power 4 conferences as we get going here into the season. Cass said, of course, Notre Dame scheduled Purdue. How do their fans stand behind that cowardly program? Not sure. Notre Dame, though, as always, is going to have to go probably undefeated and maybe can afford 1 loss to get into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens.
I need to look at this real quick. I think Notre Dame's going to Purdue, which that does not seem.
I mean, it's
that
not like
makes
Purdue's like
lot
a
of
group of
sense.
5 team. I mean,
No.
they're awful, but
You would think a week 2, like, Purdue Notre Dame match, that's 100% at Notre Dame. I don't know. We're not gonna waste our time with it. Notre Dame's gonna win. Who gives a shit? But
yeah. Okay. Let's get into the NFL news that we've got. Some trade news, some injury news going on. Vikings fans, I'm really just, sorry to all of you for just how this offseason has treated you. Obviously, there was a tragedy to start things off with, the rookie corner, Kyrie Jackson, passing away. Very sad, rest in peace. And then, so, that's just, an emotional thing that sucks. And then now we get closer to the season and, you're just constantly having things go wrong. Jordan Addison picks up a DUI, first of all, in the offseason. Then he hurts his ankle in training camp. You've got JJ McCarthy now, who apparently tore his meniscus, going to be out for the entire season. So now you got Sam Darnold, going to be QB1 all year confirmed. And just a lot of just real, I don't know, injuries all over the place for the Vikings. It just, you almost feel bad for the fan base. I mean, they're in our division. They're rivals with us. You're going to be playing in a tough division. Season looks pretty bleak going forward. It's just kind of sucks for them. I don't know.
It's also like kind of funny in hindsight because like obviously JJ McCarthy was like everybody was already saying like he's gonna be like a huge bust. He's awful, and then like his first game he actually looks pretty good, and they're like, oh, like we actually might have a quarterback this season, and like we know we have some talent around him, and never mind.
Yeah,
that blows.
Yeah, it does really suck. Whatever rivalries aside, sorry Vikings fans, just brutal to see that happen to your team. But you never know. Maybe Darnold will look all right. Maybe you guys can get some better luck on the injury bug. But yeah,
I saw there was reports that they were trying to get Derek Carr. So
yeah, I don't know how real those were or not, but
I don't know, like
because like the report was that like the Saints were so impressed with like Rattler that they'd be okay with moving on to Derek Carr. I finally think that almost harder to believe. That like
so it's like how bad is Derek Carr?
Yeah, if Spencer Rattler's beating him out, yeah. I don't know. I think scouts were like kind of weirdly taken with Rattler though. It's like, I mean, everybody's always been taken with his whatever talent, like, but I don't know.
Yeah,
he was okay that last year at SC, but
I mean, yeah,
he
just was always like in the headlines also like for not the right reasons.
Yeah, it's just like this elite prospect who was supposed to whatever be the next guy at Oklahoma, and then gets taken the place of by the generational prospect of Caleb Williams. So
yeah,
he'll just kind of always be known as that guy, I think, unless he makes some name for himself in the NFL. But never know. Maybe we'll still see Rattler on the Vikings, or not Rattler, Carr. Anyways, let's get past that. Falcons beefing up the defense. Talk about that a little bit. They made a couple big moves to try and position themselves to have a better year. They added Matthew Judon from the Patriots, a Pro Bowl level pass rusher who was holding out, wanted a trade from New England. They got him for a 2025 third round pick. Then they also signed Justin Simmons, former All-Pro safety from the Broncos, in free agency. So both those guys are going to be heading to Atlanta. Judon still doesn't have a new deal in place. So you never know. Maybe we'll get a Hassan Reddick situation here where he goes there expecting a new deal and just doesn't get one. But he is there now. So that's a huge upgrade on the edge for them. And then, of course, Justin Simmons, been a very, very good safety for years in the NFL. I think he's a little bit on the older side now.
Yeah,
but
he's definitely past his prime.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
But I mean, I think it's two very real moves for a Falcons team that's gonna try and make some noise. They're already favored in the division, and I think this just widens the gap.
Like they could be scary good. Like I'm not gonna put them towards like true
they're not
contender yet,
range,
but like
but they might win a playoff game.
They're not far off, I don't think.
No, definitely not. They are, I think, actually though, to the point where they might, depending on how everything shakes out, how good is Kirk going to be this year. They might have an argument now, I think, to be the third best division winner in the NFC this year. Depending, obviously, we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons end up being better than whoever wins the NFC East, because I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Cowboys or the Eagles, to be honest. I think the Eagles roster is really good on paper. Not a huge fan of Jalen Hurts. Sirianni is not a good coach. So I wouldn't be surprised now if they get into that discussion, because I mean the NFC South is seen as such a bottom feeder. But I think that they obviously might still be the worst division winner, but I think they'll have a lot more of an argument. There's not going to be such a gap for sure.
Yeah, because obviously that whole division was looked at as, it's like, oh, who gives a shit about the South? But I don't know if I'd go that far yet, though.
Fair enough.
Like, I still think the Cowboys, again, it's like, obviously every single year the playoffs are just a whole different thing, but like, they are still an unbelievable team every single regular season. And obviously what happened to Philly last year was bizarre. I think they bounced back from that. I don't know how good they truly can be. I don't know if they're like Super Bowl level talent, but I would still give those two the slight edge over Atlanta.
Yeah. All right. Next thing up, we got Colin Kaepernick might actually be making a return to the NFL, but not in the way that you think. He's finally maybe given up on the dream of playing, but I also just saw a report recently that he does still want to play.
Yeah, today
Harbaugh offered him a job though. So
yeah, he's like, you can coach. I don't know what the hell he would coach, but then he also like said, no, I'm trying to actually make it like back as a player. It's like, dude, you tried that 6 years ago and it didn't work. Like, why is it going to work now? It's not going to.
Yeah, well, I think he still thinks that he got like blackballed from the league. He still like doesn't realize that he's just not like very good. So I mean, I think he might have had like a slight point when that whole thing first happened, because like yeah, he's just distracting. He wasn't good enough to like outplay the distraction. It's kind of like the same reason Cam Newton's not on a team. Like at this, like he's got starter personality and like fame, but he's not good enough to be a starter. So you're not gonna sign on to be a backup and just distract the team.
Yeah, and just cause a whole lot of problems in the locker room. I get it. Yeah, I mean, he'll never play in the NFL again. I don't know. I feel like it's like a yearly thing. Like every 3 years, we get a like reminder on our phone. It's like, oh, Colin's trying again.
Yeah, no, it's every single year. It's never ending cycle that will never break. All right, final piece of NFL news here. Russell Wilson's going to make his debut with the Steelers tomorrow. Interesting quarterback battle in Pittsburgh. I mean, Russell Wilson was supposed to be the starter, but they did trade for Fields, so you never know what's going to happen there. He might make a push, at Russell Wilson. We'll see what the whole deal is there. So maybe Russell can look okay. He's been kind of banged up to start the preseason, so he kind of got off to a slow start versus Justin Fields. All right, let's go to a quick commercial break. When we get back, we'll get into Rock Hard Takes, Kelly's Kinky Rankings, and wrap this thing up. So we will be back in a jiffy.
On the College Football Dogs website, you'll find a main page that features some of our biggest and newest stories. Our conference pages for content related to your favorite team's conference. Our team store, where we have products that are available all year long, as well as gear available for a limited time only. Our podcast page, where you can see when one of the 12 plus College Football Dogs podcasts is streaming live on social media. Our subscription page, where you can join our Discord. If you're interested in becoming a contributor at College Football Dogs, email us at info@collegefootballdogs.com. If you enjoy any College Football Dogs content, we really do appreciate any donations you can make by visiting the donate page on our website or scanning the QR code here.
College Football Dogs, for the fans.
All right, welcome back to Rock Hard Ball, part of the Dogs Media Network at College Football Dogs. Another reminder, always go check out collegefootballdogs.com. Lots of great articles, stuff like that, that you can go check out from the website as well, not just our shows. So yeah, keep an eye out for those. Anyways, let's get into Rock Hard Takes. Kind of abbreviated episode. We're going to kind of also speed run the end of here. Full disclosure, things got kind of messed up in the studio here, so I have to run a couple different things into my laptop when I usually don't. So I can't charge it, and we're at 10%. So stream's kind of hanging on by a thread right now. But yeah, we're going to get through Rock Hard Takes. We're going to get through Kelly's Kinky Rankings. Hopefully the MacBook Pro can hold on just to the end here. Rock Hard Takes, though, today should be a good one. But before we do that, let's get the little intro video going here.
Phone up, folks. It's time for Rock Hard Takes.
All right. So Rock Hard Takes today. Don't have the title on there, but it's going to be basically just players that we kind of missed out on in the NCAA football games the past few years. So we're basically just going to kind of draft them who we would have, wanted to play with the most in those games that we never got in the 10-year hiatus that we had from the game. Do you remember who had first pick last time?
I think I did.
Okay. So I'm going to go first. I think there's a pretty no-brainer 101 here. It's the most fun guy to play with in Madden, and I think he would have been even more fun to play with in college. Lamar Jackson of Louisville. I think that's just a no-brainer for anybody there at the one slot.
Yeah, he was clear 1-1. All right, I'll just speed run these two. Both running backs. I'll take CMC and Saquon.
CMC and Saquon. Okay, a couple good ones. Good running backs. Both guys were on my list as well. Next one I'm going to go with another electrifying running back. Wait, who did you just take? Saquon and who?
CMC.
Okay, yeah. Never mind. I was better to take CMC. All right, let's go with another running back, though, who was a really good college athlete and continued to be good in the NFL. Super fun in Madden. Would have probably been fun in college again. Derrick Henry,
My top four.
just absolute tank. Would have been really fun to play with. Run everybody over, especially with how bad like the tackling mechanics are. Like they're not bad, but it's realistic for college. Like you're not going to make tackles all the time. Next guy I'm going to go with another mobile quarterback who was really fun in college, a Heisman winner. I'm going to go Kyler Murray with my next pick.
Okay. I'm going to go Ezekiel Elliott and Marcus Mariota.
Okay. Zeke and Marcus. Mariota was technically in the last NCAA, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think he was like he would have been probably like the cover of the next one, but like because I think he won the Heisman like that year, maybe. But
might be right.
I don't know.
And then,
whatever.
But that means
Still would have been fun though. He still would have been in the game though. Like he would have been the next year.
Yeah.
Would have been better than he was in the last one.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right. So I've got 2 left, I think, right? And then I'm done. I'll go with we'll go with Deshaun Watson. Think he would have been fun. Those Clemson teams. People forget how good Deshaun Watson was in college, I think. Well, mobile quarterbacks are just always fun to play with in video games. And then finally, I'm going to go with a man who needs no introduction, Playoff Lenny. Would have been fun with LSU, I think, as well. Really good college running back. So.
I mean, good draft, pretty straight up. I have some honorable mentions. You want to throw some out too, just real quick?
You have 1 pick left first.
Do I really?
Yeah, you get 1.
Ooh.
Whoever goes first, the other guy's got like 1 pick left in the draft.
Okay. I don't want to be it. I mean, I'll just take Mahomes.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, honorable mentions. I had like Baker, Trevor Lawrence, Jonathan Taylor, the entire 2019 LSU roster.
Is that actually on your list?
It says entire 2019 LSU.
My list literally goes Jonathan Taylor, entire 2019 LSU.
Yeah, they would have been just really, really fun to play with. I don't think Deshaun's a tough pick. Maybe he has some questionable morals now in the NFL lately, but I still think he was a good pick, Cass. So screw you.
I don't think he probably started that once he got to the NFL. That was probably
probably
going on
fair enough.
Life.
All right, we're still just hanging on by a thread here. We got 6%. Everybody, let's get the Kelly Key ranking intro video here, and Kelly's gonna have to speed run it. Not so much bullshit today, Kelly. Let's get through it. All right.
I'll keep it
In a world of politics, war, bad beats, and watching your favorite sports teams come up short, sometimes you just need to hear a guy rank random shit. Enter your hero, Colin Kelly, here today for another edition of Kelly's Kinky Rankings.
All right, no bullshit. We're just going to be going straight right into it. We're going to be doing best combinations. So it could be either food or just people in general. So start it off, we're going to go with ranch on pizza. Self-explanatory. It's the best combination, I think, food-wise, besides just mustard on sandwich. Probably just mustard on sandwich.
Okay, that's not good. We're just going to ignore it, though.
Dude, mustard on sandwich is totally number 2. I love that combo. Okay, all right, fine. Yeah, just leave it at that. Number 4, we're going to go Jake Gilly and Heath Ledger.
Okay.
So it's like, what's his name? Matt Damon. It's like Good Will Hunting, you know? Every generation or 2000s, 2010s needs 2 guys who are like, you know, everyone just roots for them. They're everyone's people. So you gotta throw Jake Gilly and Heath in there. Love that combo. Then number 3, I'm gonna be pretty biased. Brizzo. I mean, it's baseball sweethearts in 2016, man. It's romance. Love these guys. You know, great commercials too. I love that. Then number 2, we're gonna go on. It's pretty easy. Shaq and Kobe. I mean, they're probably the greatest teammates of all time. 1, 2.
Got a real argument for you.
I go LeBron and Big Z.
No.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, but I mean, the only reason like Kobe like became such a large name was because of Shaq.
Yeah.
So like those 2 were like made for each other. So I'm gonna have to put them at 2 though, because number 1 is gonna be Batman and Joker. I mean, the 2 most like recognizable like villain and hero combo in all of movies. I feel like all film.
I like the choice there to like be different. Go Batman.
Yeah, because I feel like
Batman
it's
and Robin.
Because I mean, not everyone knows like Kobe and Shaq, but everyone knows Batman. It's like Superman and Batman. You know, I could have done that also. That would have been a good one. But I feel like
they kind of have a little bit of a bitterness rivalry, though.
I think they made a whole movie on that, Robert.
Yeah.
Batman and Joker are also just straight up enemies, though. So.
Yeah, I was kind of referring to the Superman and Batman as enemies, also, though. I feel like that'd be a good reach. But yeah, I feel like Batman and Joker's a pretty solid one.
Didn't go with the classic here, huh? The one you used for the actual picture, no PB&J.
No,
Too overused.
that would have been an honorable mention, but jelly's kind of overrated. I'm gonna be honest. I'm more of a peanut butter straight up guy.
See, I'm more of a.
Don't hate it.
I like putting more jelly.
Like them. I like them both, but
Yeah.
I don't. You know, I
Questionably,
respect the take.
I'd put strawberry. You guys have strawberry jelly?
Yeah,
See, I'm a bigger grape guy.
I fuck with strawberry.
Strawberry jelly is really good. So yeah, that's definitely it for that.
All right, that was a good list, Colin.
I feel like
I wish we kind of
bad.
give you more time there, but because that was actually probably your best list we've had in a while. So too bad we couldn't get into it more. But yeah, we're gonna kind of just get this thing wrapped up here pretty quick. We're running on 3% here, and who knows if that's even true. I could maybe crash it any minute. But thank you guys for all tuning in. So it was a slightly abbreviated episode, but like I said, kind of fighting against battery here, and just again don't want to drag things out if we don't really have to. So again, felt like we had some good stuff tonight. Glad you guys all hopped in. Next episode will be on Monday. Again, just a few more episodes left, and we'll be into college football and NFL season. So the time is near, folks. Rock Hard Ball will only continue to get better too as we get some of that stuff going as well. But for tonight, that's going to do it for Karter, Weez, and Colin. We will see you guys on Monday.